Hey guys, my name is Rachel. Today I'm going to teach you how to set up on OBS Studio. Now this guide is for OBS Studio specifically and not Streamlabs OBS or any other streaming software. So if you are looking for something different, make sure to go and check out the videos in the description below and select the software guide that you're using. Now this is a basic setup to get you up and running as quickly as possible, so I'm going to teach you the very basics. First thing you want to do is navigate to the OBS project website and download the OBS Studio file that suits your OS. For me, it's Windows 10. When you run the installer, make sure you select the destination folder as an SSD if you do have one installed inside your system. I do recommend having it stored on an SSD because it will perform a lot quicker, but a hard drive is fine just the same. Then when you load up OBS Studio for the first time, it's going to run you through an installer that's pretty much automated. You can adjust these settings later on in the settings, but you don't have to do it right now. So for now, I would recommend just running through the installer and it will test your hardware specs and it will test your ISP to see what exactly is the best specs for you. So when you load into OBS now, yours is going to look slightly different to mine. That's totally okay because you can adjust all of the windows, you can get rid of some windows, you can move windows around, you can make it totally customizable for you. So this is how I have my OBS set out. Again, this is completely custom to you. There's reasons why I have this set out. Similar if you have ever used Adobe Premiere, there's different kind of work layouts for every different user. This is how mine works. I'd run through it, but honestly, it doesn't matter, so just play around with it, see what suits you. If you accidentally close any of these scenes, I will show you how to get them back again. So say, for example, you accidentally get rid of your chat like that. Boom, it's gone. Oh no, what are you going to do? All you need to do is go over to View, hover over Docs, and then chat is right there, and boom, it's back again. In Docs, you've also got different things that you can remove or add, so if you don't want your audio mixer, for some weird reason, or if you don't want scene transitions, you can just remove those, and you can add things like stats so you can monitor your system, and also Twitch stats so you can monitor how many viewers you've got and things like that. While I am editing a scene, I'm just gonna close the stream chat a little bit so I have more room for my canvas so I can play around with things a little bit more. Now we're gonna set up the first scene. Setting up the first scene is super duper easy. Obviously you get a blank screen straight away, and the first thing you're gonna want to add is probably your game. So hover over sources and add game capture. You can call it whatever you like. I'm going to call it World of Warcraft. Press OK. And then what you want to do is select the mode as capture specific window. Make sure the game that you want to capture is open. As you can see, World of Warcraft isn't open, so I'm not going to be able to capture it. So I'm going to go ahead and open it right now. All right, so I'm going to click out of that, add properties, specific window. World of Warcraft right there. There's not really much you need to specifically touch in this section. If you are having issues where you can't capture your gameplay for a specific reason, then here is where you can play around with different things. But for now, I would just leave it alone. All right, now we have the game capture. The other thing to add is a webcam. So go over to add video capture device, and I'm going to set it as my Logitech C920. Hello. So I'm going to select my Logitech C920, which is this one. Now, as you can see, it is a rather odd box shape. This isn't the native resolution. You're going to want to set the resolution as either 720 or 1080. So to do that, go to Resolution, Custom. This is where your webcam's going to disappear. Don't worry about it. I'm going to set it as 1080, so it has the maximum amount of quality, but I'm also going to reduce the size. The FPS you can set or you can keep as default. Bear in mind that if you have a 60 FPS game capture, but you only have a 30 FPS webcam, that's gonna look really weird to anyone who's watching. We don't know why, and I don't know why, but for some reason the brain can tell when something is 60 FPS and something right next to it is 30 FPS, and it's gonna look jittery and it's gonna look weird. So what I recommend is whatever the lowest FPS is, set it across the board. So for me, it's 30 FPS. Okay, so you have your webcam, you have your game capture. The only issue is that people come here to watch you play a game and not for your face. So what do? How do you adjust it? It's pretty simple. Click on the source that you want to resize. You've got the boxes over here. All you want to do is just drag and resize like that. Really, really, really simple. Now I'm going to put it about here, because usually when you play World of Warcraft, you kind of want to cover the chat. So this is where I usually sit my webcam anyways. And there you have it, a really basic scene to go live with on OBS. But let's not stop there. The next thing I'm going to want to do is add an image, so a specific image for my webcam. So it's going to be a webcam border. Now what you can do is you can right click, add, and then add an image like that. Or if you already have your file open on your file explorer, just drag it in. So once you have your file, you can drag it over to sources and boom, there it is. All right, while I'm adjusting things, I'm probably going to accidentally pull my game capture down, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to log my game capture in place so that I can't accidentally move it. I'm going to do the exact same thing for my webcam as well, because I am happy with the placement of my webcam. Now I can start adjusting my webcam border. Now you can see it's not actually a border, it's more like an image that I'm going to put behind my webcam. The only issue is it's not behind my webcam, it's on top of my webcam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the layer and I'm going to put it underneath my webcam. All of these things here are layers, so just imagine that the bottom source is the bottom layer, and then the top source is the top layer. So as long as you keep that in mind, you're not going to have any problems with arranging the order of your layers. Right, I'm going to adjust this like here, and get it as perfect as I can. Say for argument's sake, that's the closest I can get, because when it comes to adjusting the sources, it's really fiddly. What I then can do then is actually use my arrow keys to move it pixel by pixel by pixel. Now I can see here, if I go to the corners of my source, it's way too big. So I'm just going to drag it out again and adjust like that. So it's not going to be perfect because I actually made my background 1080p and my webcam's 1080p, so it's a little bit bonked, but that's how it is in my actual overlay. All right, so say for example I only want like this photo of my dog, for example, and not my other dog. To crop an image, you just need to hold Alt like that, and then you can crop the source appropriately. This is really handy for say for example your alerts. If your alerts have such like a big dead space underneath it and you don't really want it to be on your overlay, you can crop it that way. The other thing you should be mindful of, you don't ever really want to do this, but if you hold shift and you drag, you can actually stretch your image. Now, I wouldn't recommend ever stretching your image. I know that a friend of mine actually stretched their webcam border like this, like this, and it didn't look very good. Instead of adjusting it with the actual properties and making it 1080p, to try and make it 1080p, they stretched it, and it looked really bad. So don't do that. Don't stretch your images. If you want to delete a source for whatever reason, hover over it and just press the delete button, or you can right click and remove. Simple as that. Bye-bye. If you don't want to capture a game, for example, and you want to capture something else, you can add a window capture to capture a specific window that you have open, and you can also display capture as well if you want to capture the entirety of your screen. You can also capture a browser as well, so that could be literally, you can, capture Google, for example, but we are going to be using browsers next to add widgets. So what you're going to want to do is go to your streaming website, so either Streamlabs or Stream Elements. I use Streamlabs. So I'm going to go over to Streamlabs and I'm going to add my alert box. My alerts will tell me whether or not I get a new follower, sub, donation, so on and so forth. So what I'm going to want to do is copy my widget URL, go over to browser, add a browser, rename it to alerts, and paste in the URL there. I'm also going to want to set the width as well. So I'm going to set it as 1920 by 1080. So it covers the entirety of my screen. And then I'm going to crop it so that it appears right here. This is basically where I'm going to want it. Now, if I do a test, there you go. You can also do something smart, like integrate your webcam with your alerts to make it look kind of cute. This is an alert package from Nerd or Die. It's a Halloween edition. It's completely free. It's pay what you think. Definitely recommend Nerd or Die personally because I've used a lot of their stuff and it's really, really good. So that's what the majority of my alerts are and things like that. Then we're going to go ahead and add a chat box. So, you know, having chat on your screen can be, I mean, it can be great and it can be detrimental at the same time, but it is really good for keeping your audience engaged. So all you need to do is go over to chat box, copy the widget URL and do the exact same thing again, add browser, rename it to chat box. I'm going to rename it to chatbox 1 because what you might find is that different chat boxes need different ratios with size. So I'm going to name it chatbox 1, paste my URL into here, and then I'm going to keep my widget size as this because you're going to want to play around with your widget size for chatboxing. So as you can see, if I just do some tests, now, for me, that is quite clear, but for someone who's viewing on mobile or in a low resolution stream, that's probably going to be too small for them to read. So what you can do is half the width and half the height to make it even smaller and then extend it. So if I do it again, you can see that it is much bigger so that people can actually read it. Again, if you wanted to crop the size and move it across, to make it flush to the side, you can do. It's really useful to play with the sizing if you want to get it in a specific sort of chat box image. But I would do streamer discretion and make sure that you have a chat bot so that it can just remove any like profanities or anything like that because you do not want that on your stream. All right, I'm going to lock these in place and make sure that my alerts are on the very top of my layers and my chat box is as well. Currently, my layers are sitting not where I want them to, so I'm going to put them over there for now and then lock them in place there. Now, for some reason, if I wanted to hide my webcam on the fly, I can just press the I button here and I disappear. Woo! But I'm back. So here we have the game scene. So I'm going to hover over the scene section and rename this as game. Now I'm going to want a start and soon screen, a ending screen, and an intermission screen. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to duplicate my game layer and rename it as starting. That is basically making a replica of what I've just created, except this time I'm going to go into the sources and I'm going to get rid of my capture device. I'm going to get rid of my red and gray screen box. I'm going to keep my alerts on. And I'm going to move my chat to down here. This is where I can create a text that says something like starting soon, for example. Again, you can load in a specific, image if you like. But for argument's sake, I'm just going to make a starting soon text there. All right. Then I'm going to duplicate that again and make my ending screen. Except this time, I'm going to go into the starting soon properties and change it to ending. Thanks for watching. And it's too big, so I'm just going to adjust the size. And there we go. All right, cool. One more time for the BRB screen. And this time I'm just going to rename it to, you guessed it, and be right back. Cool. Now, if you are feeling fancy, you can also load a video into this instead. So my starting soon screen is a video, and I will show you exactly how to implement it into your starting soon screen. So you're going to want to go to add. You're going to want to go to media source. I'm going to change this to starting soon video. Search for my file. Which one is it? This one. And open it up like that. All right, so there is my starting soon video. As you can see here, it's created its own audio. So you can either completely mute this and then hide it if you don't want to, or you can keep it unmuted and just drag down the sound. You don't want it peeking into the red or the yellow for a starting soon screen because that is quite uncomfortably loud. Jumping back onto the video, we're going to need to adjust some of the property settings. So I actually want this video to loop. So I'm going to click loop. I do not want it to restart playback when the source becomes active, because if that happens, it's just going to add more strain onto my system. I just want it to, you know, carry on playing as it is. If you use NVENC as your encoder, you do not want to select hardware decoding when available, because this is just going to add more stress to your GPU. However, if you are using your CPU to encode, then you can probably get away with using hardware decoding. You don't really need to select it though, so I personally leave it unchecked. Show nothing when playback ends is really helpful if you have a scene underneath. So for example, if you don't want it to loop, when it ends, it's just going to completely like make it disappear. And then if you have an image behind that that says something like, I don't know, stream starting soon as like your backup, for example, then you can do that. You can also close the file when the scene isn't active. However, similarly to the hardware decoding, I wouldn't select it because it just adds more strain to your PC when you are selecting that source again. You might see on other people's streams, they have that really handy dandy recent follower thing. I'm going to show you quickly how to set that up. So you need to navigate to your Streamlabs or Stream Elements equivalent to go and get the label. In Streamlabs, it's called Stream Labels. It is a standalone program that you're going to have to open and run every single time that you stream. However, if you have a macro to open up loads of programs when you do go live, that's really helpful. Stream Deck, it can do that. When you open the Stream Labels up first, you're going to want to connect your account. It's going to prompt you to do that. Once you do that, this is what your activity level is going to look like. So this is basically your activity feed. Now, to actually put a recent follower or a recent tipper onto your overlay, you're going to want to remember where your installation path was for this program. Then what you're going to want to do is go over to sources, add, and text file. So here I'm just going to do recent follower. Select the font, something completely random, but this time I'm going to do read from file. Browse and go and find where I saved it. Most recent follower, there we go. So press open and there we go. That is my most recent follower. I can also change what the font looks like if I wanted to do an outline to make it stand out a little bit more. I can do that, or I can just leave it completely blank. It's totally up to you. So that's my recent follower. But what if I wanted to do like a sub goal? So for example, I wanted to aim for 5 subscribers this stream. How would you do that? Let me show you. It's really quick, really simple. Go back to your stream labels, click this settings, click the drop down bar, and then go to session subscriber count. So there we go. That's what you're going to want to put in as your read from file location. But say, for example, I wanted 5 out of 5. So, you know, 1 out of 5, 2 out of 5, and let it update automatically. /5. Boom. There you go. And save it. You go to add text, session subs, select my font, read from file. There we go. Session sub count, open that, and there you have it. So that's going to update as and when I get a new subscriber. But right now it's not sitting on 0, which is a little bit of an issue. So how do I make it sit on 0 and start again? For Streamlabs, you're going to want to go over to recent events, live actions, and then restart session. Go back to OBS, and there we have it. It's gone back to 0 out of 5. So the next time I stream, if I get a subscriber, it's going to update 1 out of 5. As and when you're streaming, you can update it on the go. It does take a couple of seconds to update, so keep that in mind. A couple of minutes, actually. So it won't update straight away, but you can update it as and when you're streaming. So now you have a pretty cool overlay all set up. You have your starting screen, game screen, your BRB screen, and your ending screen. Of course, you can change this to however you like. You can maybe not even have the game at all if you prefer. It's totally up to you. As you can see, as I'm switching between the scenes, it does a basic fade. Now, a lot of people might think that this is kind of boring. So I'm going to show you actually how to customize your own scene transitions. Really quickly, go over to the scene transitions window, and here you can see all of the installed transitions. You have the fade, a swipe, a slide, a fade to color, and custom stingers as well. So if you have a stinger transition that you've made yourself or you've downloaded from a website like Nerd or Die, then you can select it here. You just find your video file and there you go. You've got your custom stinger. For me though, I'm pretty boring and I just select fade. It's basic, simple, and it works. All right, so now you can start streaming. You are ready to go. However, there is something that you may want to check out and familiarize yourself before you do that. Let's go into the settings. So in general settings, there's a few things that you want to be wary of. There's a snap sensitivity, which I find really useful. So if you are having trouble kind of lining up sources together, like the layers that we were messing about with, you can actually make them snap to the edge of the screen and snap to each other. They can also snap to a 2 pixel ratio or a 10 pixel ratio, or you can just completely remove that and enable it or disable it. That's pretty much all I bother with in the general settings. Aside from selecting my theme, I think the basic one is like a really light theme. I like dark theme, so here's where you can select it. The second tab is stream. This is where I mentioned connecting your Twitch account. So if you didn't have the stream chat or the dashboard like I was showing at the start of the video, then this is where you connect your Twitch account. You should have been prompted to do this at the start. However, if you weren't, this is where you can do it. So basically you just click this button and it will say add account. So you'll sign in with your Twitch account, you go through some authentication, and boom, there you have it. You can also enable bandwidth test mode here so that instead of giving a notification to your viewers when you're going live to try and test something, you can do it without giving the notification out, which is really good if you're having internet issues or if you just want to see how your stream is going to look. Your output mode is really important. I select it on advanced by default, but this is the simple one. You can select your video bitrate here and your encoder. Now moving on to the output tab, this is quite important. This is where you can actually set your video bitrate and your encoder for streaming. Now there is like a ratio that you can follow on Twitch's website, and it tells you, depending on what your upload speed is, what to sort of set things as. It starts from 720, 30 FPS, 2500 bitrate. Now quickly, the difference between your quality and your bitrate is that essentially the quality, so the 720 or 1080, that is going to be the overall, you know, image quality of your video, but the bit rate is how many bits are being sent to the server. So you know, when you have a really low bit rate stream, you can see the squares, the pixels, and it just doesn't look very good at all. So the higher the bit rate, the better. However, it does require a bigger upload speed. Now the go-to sort of settings for streamers, the average streamer that doesn't have insanely good internet, is 900p, which is between 720 but below 1080, and about 5000 on the bitrate. The reason why is because if you don't have access to encoder settings, and if you're not a partner, you probably won't, this means that you won't be subjecting your audience to have to watch it in 1080p. Everyone, or almost everyone, can watch a video in 1080p, but that's because it preloads, whereas streaming 1080p, 60 FPS, 6000 kbs video bitrate all the time is really straining on the internet. So allowing your streamers a bit of room and streaming at 900p is it's a lot more fair. It is worth knowing that you can also record in OBS Studio as well, and you can actually record and stream at the same time if your PC allows you to do that. So here is where you can set your recording path, you can set your recording format, and you can set your encoder for the recording as well. You can also drop down to advanced and see these like really specifically. I can actually select my output scale right here, right now, but I can actually do that in another tab as well, so you don't need to go to advanced for it. And here is, I can also select the number of audio tracks that my recording takes as well. So if you wanted to separate your microphone from your game, you can do here. It's very simple, very easy, and very useful if you are a YouTuber. Moving away from output, we're going to look at audio a little bit more. So as you can see, I have absolutely no audio, well, aside from my webcam, but I'm going to mute that and hide it because I don't need it. I actually have everything run through a mixer. I have a Go XLR, which handles my microphone, my system audio, my game audio, voice, sampler, music, everything. So the only thing that I put as my microphone input is my broadcast stream mix. There you go. So as I'm talking, you can actually see my microphone popping up. If I play some music, you'll see my music popping up. Like, it's all done through the one specific mixer. Now, you might not have that. You might just have your headphones and just a microphone. So if that's the case, you're going to want to set your desktop audio as your headphones. So mine are the Arctis 7s, and then your microphone as what your microphone is. So for example, if you're using a standalone microphone like an Elgato, you're going to also want to select Elgato line in. Or if you're using NVIDIA Broadcast for the really good noise removal filter, you're going to want to select it as NVIDIA Broadcast. A lot of people get caught out by this. They turn on NVIDIA Broadcast, but they forget to change their input microphone. So if you are using NVIDIA Broadcast, make sure you select that. All right, moving on to video. So the base canvas, you're going to want to keep at 1080p. But this is where I was talking about the output resolution. So for me, I'm going to change it to 900p. So the resolution scale for 900p is 1600 by 900. So that's the output scale resolution. I'm also going to want to drop this to 30 FPS personally because, like I mentioned earlier, my webcam's only 30 FPS, and I don't want people to see like a 60 FPS game and then a 30 FPS me. So this is where you can change everything to scale to 30 FPS. Click apply. Awesome. Last but not least, we're going to go into hotkeys. So if you aren't lucky enough to have a Stream Deck, this is where you can actually set your keyboard keybinds to switch between different things. So if you want to be able to switch to your Be Right Back screen, you can just do, I don't know, let's say Shift B for Be Right Back. And then you can just do that on a fly if you want to switch to that scene. Boom. There we have it. Really simple, really easy to use. You can basically use as many hotkeys as you like. But if you are playing a game like World of Warcraft, you'll already be familiar with macros, right? You'll already be familiar with keybinds. So that might mean that your keyboard is already keybound to something else. So it might be worth investing in a secondary macro keyboard or a Stream Deck. This video is not sponsored by Elgato. However, I personally do not understand how a streamer is able to stream efficiently without using a Stream Deck. I can do so much with my Stream Deck that I would be very much at a loss without it. I can change all of my scenes at a fly. I press one button and it opens up all of the programs I need for streaming. It turns on my Streamlight. It changes my name on Twitter and it brings up my Twitch dashboard and Streamlabs dashboard all at once. And when I'm finished streaming, I press one button and it switches my scene to ending. It plays a 2-minute advert. It sends a message into the chat. It turns my light off and it switches my audio device from my headphones to my speakers. It does a lot. Yeah. That's just one thing that it can do. So if you don't have a Stream Deck, I do definitely recommend doing that. And if you want some tips on how to set it up, come and join me on stream, twitch.tv/RageDarling, and I'll introduce you and how to use a Stream Deck, basically. Or if you want a dedicated video, let me know in the comments below and I'll run through my setup and give you some information about that. So there you have it. You're pretty much ready to go and stream on OBS Studio. So make sure you go and hit that like button and have some fun. If you want to check out some more advice, I'll have some videos linked down in the description below. Or if you want to ask me about any of my setups or anything like that, come and ask me on stream. I will be more than happy to run through my OBS setup. If there's any other videos that I can create to help you, let me know in the comments below. But if not, make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Come and check me out on my socials @RageDarling, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good one. Bye.